Look at the South American continent, and you will see the Amazon basin covers roughly 6 million square kilometers. That is a single continuous footprint stretching across 9 different nations. Inside that footprint is a biological density that is difficult to fully conceptualize. We are looking at an estimated 390 billion individual trees. 1 out of every 10 known plant and animal species on Earth lives right here. And it is heavily populated. 30 million people rely directly on this ecosystem to survive, including hundreds of distinct indigenous groups, some of which remain completely isolated from the outside world. When you look at something this massive, it creates an illusion. An ecosystem this large seems totally invincible to human interference. But today, the reality is much more precarious. We have already completely eradicated about 20% of the original forest. Scientists now strongly warn that this puts us dangerously close to a rigid mathematical boundary known as a tipping point. If deforestation reaches between 20 and 25%, the entire system will irreversibly collapse. Crossing this threshold triggers a collapse across the entire basin, flipping 80% of the remaining forest into a barren, dry savanna. So why does cutting down just 1 single quarter of this massive space guarantee the death of the rest? To understand why this system is so fragile, we have to analyze the Amazon as a highly engineered, interconnected machine. Despite its incredibly lush green canopy, the actual soil beneath the Amazon is remarkably poor. It lacks the essential nutrients required to sustain dense plant life on its own. Instead, the forest survives on a transatlantic lifeline. Every year, winds blow roughly 22 million tons of phosphorus-rich dust from the Saharan desert directly across the ocean to fertilize the basin. With that fertilizer, the forest powers a massive rain machine. The dense trees pull groundwater through their roots, exhaling it via transpiration. This pumps so much moisture into the air that the forest generates half its own rainfall, feeding a continuous atmospheric water loop. For at least 11,000 years, dense indigenous populations lived alongside this cycle, using targeted, sustainable soil management to cultivate crops without breaking the loop. The entire machine is perfectly balanced and entirely self-sustaining, but only as long as there is a critical mass of trees left to actively pump the water. That critical mass began to fracture in the 1970s. The construction of the Trans-Amazonian Highway cut a deep scar into the interior, shattering the forest's historical isolation and opening it up to mass exploitation. With new access, colonists poured in and began rapid slash-and-burn farming. Because the natural soil is so nutrient-poor, those farms quickly failed, forcing settlers to constantly abandon their fields and clear new land. Today, the primary driver of the destruction is livestock. 70% of all formerly forested land in the Amazon is now used exclusively for cattle ranching. The rest of the loss is heavily driven by massive soy plantations and extensive mining operations carving straight into the landscape. Every time an industrial tractor clears a hectare of timber, it removes a biological water pump. Slowly, the region is dismantling the exact mechanisms that keep the entire South American continent hydrated. When you remove enough of those pumps, the rain machine breaks. Fewer trees means significantly less moisture is sent into the atmosphere. Without that recycled rainfall, the region experiences severe, prolonged dry seasons. This lack of water directly caused historically devastating droughts in 2005 and 2010. This triggers a cascade failure. The extended droughts cause massive tree die-offs, turning a damp, fire-resistant rainforest into thousands of square miles of dry kindling. With all that brittle fuel accumulating, uncontrollable wildfires surge across the basin. The fires destroy even more canopy, which further reduces rainfall and accelerates the drying process. Deforestation causes drought, the drought causes fires, and the fires destroy more forest. That catastrophic loop is exactly how reaching a 25. But as the degradation loop accelerates, that absorption plunges below zero, meaning the Amazon basin is now officially emitting more greenhouse gases than it takes in. Hitting the 25% tipping point ensures the destruction of South America's biodiversity, and it injects billions of tons of trapped carbon right back into the atmosphere, which severely accelerates global warming worldwide. Protecting the Amazon is a mechanical necessity to prevent irreversible ecological collapse across